Earlier today, I was talking to my VP of my nonprofit, and I said, keep in mind, like, pretty much all the stuff that I learned, which helped me surpass Julie's knowledge in family law because she's stupid, um, in a year, not taking any law classes, just having AI teach me. So I want you guys to keep in mind, I created my own AI server, which became a law professor, taught me law, learned everything from the AI law professor, and I got to the point where I was actually beating the AI. And the point I'm trying to make with that is AI is still kind of new to some of you guys. I've been using it probably a little bit longer than most, as a suggestion of a close friend. But the one thing that, if you're kind of curious to know, like, kind of what's going on with our country and the world, keep in mind that usually most of the time whenever civilians get technology, it's already been in the military for like a decade prior. So if AI can turn me from never really setting foot in a courtroom except for a speeding ticket like in 2017 was the last time I was in there, into like somebody that's beating somebody that has a doctorate in juris in a year, what do you think that AI is doing for the military? Probably, they're probably going over plans to. I tell people, okay, what's the biggest danger to our country? A lot of people say, oh, China, mention all these countries. No, it's the people. The people are the biggest threat to the government because we are the ones that hold the laws that control them. And what's going on now, what I'm dealing with right now as it sits, is they are violating these laws that the people put on the government. It's called the Constitution. The Constitution aren't rights, they're laws. There are laws that the government has to follow to balance the power. When they don't follow those laws, they need to be held accountable. I know that judges get immunity. They get immunity from the 11th Amendment. The thing about it is, the 11th Amendment is not considered a fundamental right. It can be overturned, well, not overturned, but it can be not enforced. And the one thing that pierces immunity, a judge's immunity, is exactly what those three judges did, and they're continuing to do. Whenever you're blatantly violating a well-established law or constitutional right and you're doing it blatant, you don't get immunities. You don't get protections of the 11th Amendment when you're violating the first 10 and the 14th. Those are fundamental rights. You can't violate fundamental rights and then try to get a non-fundamental protections of a non-fundamental right. Those judges, all three of those judges, were actually acting outside of their jurisdiction, wholly out of jurisdiction, because they don't have the right or the jurisdiction to be able to overturn or violate a constitutional protection. And they're continuing to do it. So the federal court, district court in Fresno, there's some sort of a tie. I did some research into Kevin Siebert, and I could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure he's a partner in a big law firm in Sacramento. Sacramento is a part of the Eastern District. So Fresno and Sacramento are both federal courts. I denied the use of a magistrate. I did not give permission. She took it upon herself to go ahead and start doing stuff in my case. So she's also wholly out of jurisdiction. She didn't have the right to do that. So we have, in my lawsuit, I may end up incorporating some magistrate now. There's also a clerk down there that they kept hanging up on me because they weren't helping me. They are ignoring my lawsuit on purpose. I have proof of it. And I even had a U.S. Marshal research my case number, and it was coming up as some woman over in another state. So I think what they do is they're burying my case so it can't be seen. And I believe it's a few select individuals. Clint Parrish, he couldn't help himself. He kind of like hinted toward it when he said, "How's your lawsuit going in federal court?" and was mocking. It's obvious that he knows something that I don't know, or now I do know. So I'm going above him. I'm going to the Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals. They have several pieces of case law where they support parents and their fundamental rights. So hopefully that helps. If not, I thought this was going to go to U.S. Supreme Court. If it goes to U.S. Supreme Court, that's where we're going, because I'm not stopping. So you can either jump on and support or don't. I don't care. Either way, I'm still fighting. I'm fighting for the fundamental right of parents, and I will continue to fight that even after I get Carter back. But as far as my settlement goes, money doesn't mean anything. The only reason why I asked for a ridiculously high amount is that's a refund to the people for the last 20 years of you kidnapping our children unlawfully and violating 14th Amendment fundamental rights and taking advantage specifically of targeting. They were targeting fathers that either couldn't afford an attorney or had prior criminal records. Basically, they were judging books by its cover. They misjudged this book. They picked the wrong book. And they picked a book that ended up having more information and more love for my son than they've ever had love for themselves. So nonetheless, keep in mind, part of the settlement, I don't care. I can give up the money. That's not a big deal. I do want criminal federal kidnapping charges brought on Julie Sockel, and I will not settle unless that's a part of it, and Olivia Phillips. I want them tried in a federal court, not local, federal court, for their crimes against the country and against the Constitution, because what they did is treason. And I've already articulated all the charges. So just like a district attorney, you want to stack charges? We're stacking charges. So the thing about it is, so I have a good friend of mine. He had a buddy. Yeah, I'm trying not to mention your name, my friend, because obviously you've been targeted before, but he's pretty good at federal lawsuits. And he had a friend who got a badge that was shutting down family court houses. Congress gave him a badge, and he did not pass the bar, and he was basically an acting attorney general or inspector. I am going to request this as well. Whenever shit hits the fan, there's going to be a lot of cases that are going to be retried in Tuolumne County. I've already looked at a few that were, highbrow, and I found constitutional violations. It could be thrown out, vacated. There's several of them like that. In fact, probably a majority of the cases in Tuolumne County are like that. I figured it was going to be like that because I was sitting waiting for my hearing in Siebert's courtroom. There was a prisoner that was connected through Zoom, and he said he had been petitioning for the last 2 years, and everybody's ignoring him. And Kevin Siebert, surprised this even came out of his mouth, said he's not obligated to listen to a pro per litigant file motions. Yes, sir, you are actually. You are obligated to listen to what he has to say, because when you're representing yourself as a pro per litigant, you have to afford them the same rights as an attorney does. In fact, from what I understand, you're even supposed to refer to me as counselor when I'm representing myself, according to what the higher court says. So attorneys and self-represented parties, they have the same exact privileges. Because you hold me to the same standard, then I get the same privileges. So the thing about it is, all this whole, let's go back in the chambers and discuss it without your client there, that shit's going to stop. I'm not going to allow you to do that. If you do that, if you pull anybody back in your chambers, I'm leaving. Because what you're trying to do is you're trying to hide shit, and what you guys are going down there is you're back there negotiating who's going to win this case. You guys aren't God, and you don't have any control of my child. I have more control and custody of my child than you do. So when Hallie Campbell said that I wasn't able to cut my kid's hair and tried to claim it was abuse, there was no court order that said I couldn't cut his hair. She tried to claim that was abuse because I cut his hair at 2 years old because he wanted to be like dad. Yeah, I think it's more abuse if you try to deny my son wanting to be like his father. I think you're a piece of shit. And I think by the time this is done, I'm hopefully have you behind bars too, because I got other parents that are coming after you. So not in a physical way. So don't jump to conclusions and try to fabricate a bunch of lies like you do in your court department too all the time. Fucking lying piece of shit. So, and get this, if you don't like what I got to say, then don't come fucking look at my shit then. None of you. Because I can bring in all kinds of judicial books on you that says that you have to take the public criticism. Get used to it. Because the more you're a piece of shit, the more people are going to call you a piece of shit. And we're trying to get you off the bench. We're going to get you out of here. We're going to get you, you're done. You're done. So, next, you're kidnapping kids. I'm going to make sure you're brought up on federal kidnapping charges. Because here's the thing, dumbass. Whenever a dad doesn't show up for family court, this is a court of equity. You're bottom of the barrel. Court of equity. You're optional. Don't forget I said that to you. You're optional. You are a court of equity. You're not a court of law. You're a court of equity. You are the only reason why you're dealing with anything that anybody brings to you is because two citizens are paying you money to be a third-party opinion. We're not paying you to kidnap our children. And if a dad doesn't show up for court, you don't just automatically take his kid away. That's violating his due process. You can't do that. And when you do, you're going to be held accountable. You think you're going to get immunity? Watch, because I'm not going to stop. I'm not stopping until you're done. So all of you, all three of you, Beiersdorf too. Beiersdorf, you're a piece of shit too. I'm sorry I voted for you. You lied right to my face, you dishonest turd. You fucking dork. And it's funny because I was at Walmart and I was talking on the phone. I turn around, he's like there, and he lowers his head like a little coward. You're a little fucking coward, dude. The only reason why you got any confidence you open your fucking mouth is because that bailiff's protecting you. And you know what's funny about that? If anybody were to attack you when you violate people's rights and that bailiff doesn't do anything, he's honoring his oath, because he has to protect the Constitution against enemies, foreign and domestic. And if you're violating people's constitutional rights or you're violating constitutional law, somebody attacks you and he stands aside, he's honoring his oath. So keep that in mind, dude. Keep running your fucking mouth. Keep doing it. because I'm telling you right now, and I'm saying this about your bailiff, he's a fucking good dude. I can tell. Like he's there to protect you, but I see it in him. He wants to honor that oath. So he's a respectful dude. I actually got good vibes off of your bailiff, specifically yours. Siebert's has been being pretty cool now too. At first, all these bailiffs were all fucking eyeballing me until they started seeing what I was really fighting for. You guys are the evil people. You're the pieces of shit.